Last month I got my palette down here. I took my color chart and I wanted shades, tones, and tints of red and green, and so I selected 10, took them home and put them aside because I was busy. And then I saw this on a catalog and I thought, oh wow, that would work great for my the colors.
So you used that sort of as a, you didn't have the pattern itself, you just used that to draw a pattern from?
Yes.
There you go. I got a pen from behind.
Anyway, so I kind of drew it out the best I could on butcher paper and cut it out and tried to. I made my background, and I was going for getting some texture in there using and I used some tints and shades, and I was working with everything I thought I learned in class and hoping that it was all red and green. And it had to fit the pillow form that I already had. So that was my goal there. And so that's how it came out. I was going to put 3 of these stars on. This is kind of a night shade here with the little gray there. Because this is how I see stars right now. I have cataracts, and they just, stars, all lights, just illumine around them, but I didn't have time. And so I just stitched some more in. And so that is my project. It's quilted with my embellishments are everything is just quilted on. Okay. You know what I was trying to do? Remember last month we had that one with the purples and the little squares and how the light around the edge just popped it out. Well, when this was flat, it really pops out. But when it went on the pillow, it became more discreet. Yes.
Okay. Well, she used lots of visual textures here, but she also has tactile texture out here. Don't be afraid to use fabrics that have an actual tactile feel to them. They're very fun to include. And here it's a very nice addition. It acts like a frame around the whole piece. And it's usually, if you're making an art quilt or a quilt that's hanging on the wall, a wall quilt, to end with a light border doesn't really work. But because that light border goes around the edge of the pillow, it's working great. Because what we're really seeing is on the surface is the dark border. So you were spot on with that. What I really like is this deep dark brownie color here, which I am quite certain you will find on the red card. When you add tons of gray to your red, you're going to get this sort of a color, variety of color. We've got great berries in all the different varieties of reds. Wonderful different greens here with some thread painting. The crisp white of the tree, I think, is very important. It's adding some, like you said, some luminosity to the piece. So we have a really nice play of color scale here, more so in the red than we do with value, whereas in the green we have some value changes also. What I like about it the most is that though it reads a little bit like Christmas, it's not necessarily having to be Christmas. Because it's not just in your face, Christmas, sparkly or whatever, it can read just as winter. And so it can be out for a long time, which always makes me happy. So, any comments?
I like the way you kept the rule of thirds in mind. Okay, because that
accidents happen.
Good thing. But because we're all in this process together. But in the fact that the bird, I mean, yeah, you kind of it's a focal, but it doesn't take over the whole thing because of the placement.
Right, and the tree kind of starts here on the lower axis of thirds and finishes over here on the upper right axis of thirds. The bird is over here on the upper right left axis of thirds, and then we have the balance of this down here. So it is very well balanced. Very well done. And there's that idea of the collective unconsciousness. Yes, she saw this, and I don't know if it's a pillow. Yeah, it's a big pillow.
I think it's a pillow, and it looks like it's wool.
It does look like wool. And so most of us we don't really come up with new ideas. We reinvent ideas that have been placed in our heads in some other way. So we're almost always rewriting the story that's already been told and making it our own story. As long as, now, if this were somebody's quilt exactly, and she didn't know who it was made by, and she was going to, you know, display this and say she made it, and she would say something like, what is it when you get the idea from somebody else?
Inspired
Thank
by?
you, thank you. Inspired by a picture of a photo I saw in such and such magazine. I don't know the maker or maker unknown. But it's not necessarily necessary if it is your own interpretation of something. And so let's see, we see a rug, and it's got one bird on it, and we use that bird, but we don't use anything else from the rug. We don't have to claim the rug. But if you see the rug and you take a picture of it, and you recreate that rug in quilted form, then you need to say who made that rug, because that's somebody else's design. Okay, so there's a fine line there between what you have to do and don't have to do. But this one I think is so far different from that, she would not have to reference it. All right? Very nice.
I did make this.
You didn't? You
I did
beaded that
the
yourself?
beaded, yeah.
Cat it or beaded it?
It's beaded.
Very
Wow.
cool.
It
That's
looks
why you
like a
said I didn't have enough
snowflake to
time.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think putting 2 more on here,
Yeah.
if you have time to make them, just right on top of those would be really nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Good job. Good job. Yeah.